Look at them all. Oh God, pintails. And I only threw up once, at the end. Good boy, drop. Good boy. Doesn't get any better than that.
It was in 1903 when man first left the surly bounds of Earth and flew for the first time. But these creatures have been flying for millions of years. The very sight and sound of both airplane and duck stir up within my soul feelings of pure joy, and sometimes make me feel something that is a little less fun. Bet you didn't see that coming, did you?
Well, Nick, how you doing back there?
During the course of almost any given hour, on almost any given day, I can almost guarantee you that I will have thought about two things for sure. And those two things are waterfowl hunting and flying airplanes. But for as often as I think about both, it's not very often that the two cross paths. But today, that is exactly what's happening. Because once Waylon and I have loaded up and I turn the key and my airplane rumbles to life, the two of us take to the air, and I point this bird south. After a few hours of flying, I land in the legendary Mississippi Delta town of Clarksdale. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure who's more excited to be here, me or Waylon. We hop in a rental car and point it south through Clarksdale. And everywhere you look, you're reminded why this area is famous. You see, the area around Clarksdale is highly regarded as the birthplace of Delta blues music. But this time, I'm not here for the Delta blues sound. Instead, I'm here for the sound of this. That's right, I'm here for the lovely sounds of duck hunting. And I'm here to do that with two old friends. The first is BC Rogers, who owns Ren and Ivy Sporting and Travel Gear. The other is Rob Stockett, who owns a magical slice of waterfowl heaven called Cypress Bend. And being the good southern hosts that they are, upon my arrival, they fill me full of cocktails and then wake me up at 4 a.m. for my first morning of hunting. But you'll never hear me complain about that.
Look at them all. Oh God, pintails.
Yeah, that one. Excellent shot.
Yeah!
Look at that beautiful duck.
I have been waiting for this all year long. Look at my face right now. My face hurts from smiling so much. I mean,
The essence of duck hunting is a beautifully simple thing. A few people with shotguns, a place to hide, a few decoys, and a little water and food for the ducks, when put together just right, can be a recipe for a pretty good time. Or in my case, a recipe for a little bit of soul food.
I honestly, this year, have not gotten a duck hunt nearly enough, less than any other year since I was a kid. And I needed this. It's like therapy, duck therapy. Good guys, good dog, good friends, 3 limits of ducks. Doesn't get any better than this. I needed that.
Now, when you take that soul food recipe that I was talking about, where you're sitting in a duck blind next to your friends and your dog, there is almost nothing, in my opinion, that can beat it, except for when you replace one of those ingredients. Because if doing all of that in a duck blind is like cooking up a really good apple pie, if you take that duck blind and you replace it with a big old piece of southern flooded timber, well, for me, that just turns that piece of awesome apple pie into an awesome piece of apple pie with ice cream on top. And that's exactly what happened the next morning.
And for a guy who grew up hunting in Minnesota, this timber hunting thing, even though I've done it a bunch now, it's still like Christmas morning every time. This, to me, is what duck hunting is all about. I'm so excited.
I mean, everybody likes apple pie with ice cream, right? Hunting ducks in flooded timber in Mississippi with my buddies and my dog will always rank right up there with any other kind of hunting I've ever done in my life. This is truly my happy place.
Nice shots.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, drop. Good boy. Doesn't get any better than that. I didn't even see those ducks. All of a sudden, y'all are just shooting.
Like this in a place like this is not something to take for granted, because this is world-class duck hunting, and you can't have duck hunting like this without world-class habitat.
Good boy, good boy.
And my buddy Rob Stockett tells me that Cypress Bend wasn't always just like this.
This habitat here is so important for so many reasons. You are one of 100 people that have been on this ground over the years, right?
That's right. When we bought this about 20 years ago, we took a cotton farm and turned it back into wildlife habitat. We converted the smaller cotton fields back to wildlife habitat with a real emphasis on wetlands.
You're the stewards of this land, but when you start looking and digging into the history of this place, I'm sure it's rich, right?
Is. And when we were doing some title work on it, one of the cool things about it, the legend has it that John Lee Hooker was probably born and raised on this farm.
The blues guy.
The blues guy.
And ironically, as we sit here in a duck hole, one of John Lee Hooker's biggest songs is Boom, 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 Boom.
To sing the blues, you need soul. And John Lee Hooker had more soul than most. He's known as a master of the Delta blues and considered by some to be the creator of boogie blues. He ran away from home as a kid and ended up in Detroit during World War II, working as a janitor in his 30s. He played guitar at piano bars but was mostly overlooked. That was until he purchased his first electric guitar, which changed everything for John Lee Hooker. His first recorded single, Boogie Chillin', was an instant classic, but his song Boom Boom still finds itself in the Rolling Stone list of the top 500 songs of all time. Not bad for a boy from the Mississippi Delta who lived right here on this very farm that we're hunting.
Go shoot him.
That's a 4-man limit in like an hour and a half. Unbelievable, dude.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to Mississippi.
And what's crazy about this is that they do this every day. Like, don't come to Mississippi though, go to Arkansas. They ain't got any ducks here.
After a few days of very successful duck hunting in Mississippi, I jump back in my airplane and fly further south in search of a dream come true. I'm making my way to the small town of Tallulah, Louisiana, which is just outside of Vicksburg, and this entire area is ripe with history. During the Civil War, this was a critical location for both the Union and the Confederacy. President Lincoln considered possession of this area to be the key to bringing the war to a close, and the reason for that was this not-so-small river called the Mississippi. Whoever controlled this stretch of the river could control the flow of goods and communication either north or south. Now fast forward 70 years, and the neighboring city of Tallulah would be the site of the first municipal airport in the state of Louisiana. And it was here that early aviators not only experimented with and perfected cotton crop dusting, but it's also the home of the beginnings of Delta Airlines. Now fast forward 100 years, and a group of aviators who are longtime heroes of mine are keeping Tallulah's aviation heritage alive. And it's those 4 guys that have me flying in my airplane to this legendary place. When I was a kid, I was pretty much obsessed with 3 things: hunting, music, and airplanes. And right now, I'm combining all 3 of those things right here in the great state of Mississippi. And the best part is, I'm currently flying myself to meet up with some of the very people who inspired me to fly in the first place. How cool is that? You know that feeling that you had on Christmas morning when you were a kid? Well, I know that's a really cliche thing, but that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. Meet the legendary Aeroshell Acrobatic team. These guys are aviation legends that not only ooze coolness, but have also entertained millions and inspired countless pilots, myself included, to learn to fly. The Aeroshell Acrobatic team began in 1984 as a 3-ship team called the North American Aerobatic Team with pilots Steve Gustafson, Alan Henley, and Ben Cunningham. And they kept this 3-man configuration for over 10 years, until adding a 4th plane in the mid-90s to create the signature diamond that the Aeroshell team is famous for. Steve Gustafson is one of the founders of the team and soloed the very aircraft that he flies on the left wing of the formation all the way back in junior high. Brian Regan sits opposite him on the right side of the formation, and he joined the team in 2008 after years with the legendary Red Baron Pizza Squadron. In between them in the slot is Jimmy Fordham. Jimmy began flying when he was 14 years old. He's been flying in air shows since the 70s. He's a retired airline pilot, and he joined the team in 2010. And up front in the lead position is Mark Henley. He's been flying for almost 40 years, has been flying air shows for over 20, and he joined the team in 1997. I've been watching these 4 guys fly air shows since I was a kid, and I'm excited. But you know what they say, you gotta be careful when you're meeting your heroes.
I roll up and I see these T6s here that I've been looking at since I was a kid, and then I see you guys in person and realize that none of you are as handsome as I figured you'd be. I gotta be honest.
You're the stunt double.
I'm in Tallulah, Mississippi, meeting up with the legendary Aeroshell Acrobatic team. I've flown here in my own plane, and now I want to know about theirs.
The first thing I wonder, and I've always wondered, is why the T6?
Most of it started off because we already had the airplane.
We had one.
That's a good reason.
The T-6 has been around since the mid-1930s, and it's the stuff that legends are made of. The aircraft has been used to train hundreds of thousands of fighter pilots in all sorts of countries all the way into the 1990s, which earned it the respected name of the Pilot Maker. Back then, the T-6 created pilots, and nowadays, thanks to people like the Aeroshell Acrobatic team, it continues to inspire pilots, myself included, every time a T-6 flies.
I never realized it was going to end up as big as it has been.
Sure. Well, I mean, literally inspiring generations now of pilots. I mean, myself included.
We really focus on is trying to get these younger kids involved in this. Somebody I took flying as a kid now. So I've been with this airline for 20 years now, and I'm like, whoa.
Or some idiot from Tennessee shows up and says, hey, I've been watching y'all since I was a kid. Like that same thing? Yeah, okay,
Start thinking about age.
These four guys might be humble, but I'll say it for them. They're the absolute best at what they do. These guys do incredibly difficult maneuvers just a few feet from each other at high rates of speed, and they make it look way easier than it really is.
What's the hardest part of your routine?
The hardest part is putting up with these guys, obviously. Nobody likes my spot. I'm on the left side. They're always rolling at me.
So during a barrel roll, the challenge is to get into position earlier and earlier, you know, and
Sure.
get closer. I got Steve on my wing during that. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't worry about it.
It's got to be the biggest part of it is you have to focus on what you're doing and you can't worry about the other guy. Yeah.
I just had to fly with blinders on.
Well, if I'm going to fly with y'all, I guess the spot to be in is probably Jimmy's spot, right?
Yeah, well,
Because you can see everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, I've always wanted to fly with a bald guy.
Yeah, bald-headed with a mustache. Yeah, we'll make that happen.
A wise man once said that it's a rare opportunity to get to stand side by side with your heroes. And when that time comes, you better not mess it up.
Attention all aircraft in the Tallulah-Vicksburg Regional Airport area. Aerobatic activity taking place from the surface to 3,000 feet within a 2 nautical mile radius of the Tallulah-Vicksburg Airport. Out. 2 and 2.
Taking off that close to an airplane is the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, he is literally 10 feet away. Oh God, baby!
Ready, oh, now. Power.
Oh my God.
Fire coming in.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
And hold on.
I cannot believe that you guys can do that close.
Bomber. Well, Nick, how you doing back there?
Woohoo!
He was talking a whole bunch more earlier than he is now.
If he wants to be, and then I'll let you.
I've done a lot of cool stuff in my life, but that is without a doubt, one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, hands down. Why? First off, being 8 feet away from another airplane is ridiculously awesome and scary at the same time. Second, I literally have been wanting to fly with these guys since I was a kid. One of the reasons I'm a pilot is because of these airplanes right here. Dreams come true, they really do. And I only threw up once, at the end. I made it till the end. Thank you, brother.
Did you like that?
Man.
Great, man. So glad to be able to take you up and glad that you enjoyed it. That's what's important, is you had a great time.
And to do it with a fellow hunter.
Yep, fellow
That's what I'm
hunter,
talking
fisherman,
about.
outdoorsman. We're going to eat some crawfish tonight, buddy.
We're gonna have a good time, really a good time, having some good times.
As if this day couldn't get any better, these guys invited me over to Steve's house for a good old-fashioned Delta crawfish bowl.
Holy crap, there's no way I can eat all this.
And as we sat around and ate and laughed, and later on as I played a little music, I couldn't help but reflect on the fact that all of this wouldn't even be possible if man hadn't looked upon birds in the sky and used his imagination. Ironically, it was birds up in the sky that drew me to this part of the country, and it was machines that were inspired by those birds that not only brought me here, but also connected me with new friends and memories that I will never forget. And now, as I sit here filling my face full of crawfish, I'm feeling pretty grateful, even if those Cajun spices are making my lips burn just a little bit.
Good times.
Thank God for ice-cold beer.